Good day everyone! After our first video about the basics of trigonometry, let's move on to a complicated level with exam type questions. Let us look at the first question. So here in the first question, I have two triangles. As we know, we cannot solve this whole triangle together, as in trigonometry, all the triangles should have right angles. So now let's start naming the triangles. This will be triangle A, and this would be triangle B. Now, we can start giving the sides names, such as hypotenuse, adjacent, and opposite. The opposite to the right angle is always the hypotenuse. The opposite to the theta, or the angle, is opposite. We're taking this triangle first, as whenever we're trying to solve a triangle, we at least need to have one side, the length of a side. As we don't have the length of the side for this, nor this, nor this, we at least need to find one. So if we find x, it will be easy for us to find y. And the opposite of the theta is opposite, and the other one has to be adjacent. So as we name them, let us start solving it, finding the x. We have the angle 30, the length of the hypotenuse, 10 centimeters, and we need to find the length of the opposite. As we don't have this, we don't require this. Just make a small x just to indicate that we don't need it. Now using the formulas here, so, cut, toa, is able for us to find the length of x. So if we don't need adjacent, we have opposite and hypotenuse, we use the formula so. Sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. Now we can start substituting them. Sine 30 equals opposite, which is x that we need to find, divided by 10. So if we need to calculate it this way, x equals 10 times sine 30. After you calculate it, what you would get is 5 centimeters will be the length of x. 5 centimeters. So now we can give the length here 5 centimeters. The length will be same for both the triangles. So now let us move on to triangle B. In triangle B, we have y that we need to find. Now let us start naming them as we named in the first triangle. This is also a right angle, so the opposite of this will be hypotenuse. Opposite of the angle or theta will be opposite, and the other one has to be adjacent. Surprisingly, the names are almost the same: hypotenuse, hypotenuse, adjacent, adjacent, opposite, and opposite. It's not always the same. Now, if we don't need hypotenuse because we don't have the length of this. So I just made a small x just to indicate that we don't need it. Now we have opposite and adjacent. We need to find y. So we use the formula TOA. Tan equals opposite over adjacent. So tan equals opposite over adjacent. So we can start substituting it with the angle 42 and the length 5 centimeters. So tan theta, which is 42 degrees, 42 equals opposite, that is 5, that we found out while doing triangle A, is equal to opposite 5, divided by A, that is y, that we need to find, adjacent. So it's just like switching both of these two. So y equals 5 divided by tan 42. After you calculate it, what you will get for this is 5.55 centimeters will be the length for y. So here, 5.55 and 5. So this is the calculation for this triangle. Let us move on to the second question. In this question, we have two triangles just like before. So the first thing we need to do is to identify in which triangle we need to start with. If you look at the bottom triangle, it has the side and the side that we need to find with the angle. And in the triangle above, we only have the angle and the side of y, and we don't have the side or the length of any other sides. So let us start with this triangle, as we have the length of this side, that is 40 centimeters. So I'm naming this triangle A and triangle B. The second thing that we need to do is we need to give names to the sides according to hypotenuse, opposite, and adjacent. The opposite of the right angle is always hypotenuse. Opposite of this angle is always opposite. And the other one has to be adjacent. So let us start solving this triangle by finding the length of x, with the length 40 centimeters and the angle 60 degrees. So we don't need adjacent, so I'm just making a small x just to indicate that we don't need it. We have opposite and hypotenuse. By looking at the formulas, we can find that SO, or sine, is the formula that we're going to use for this triangle to find the length of x. So we write the formula first. Sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. Now we can start substituting it. So sine theta, theta is the angle, that is 60 degrees. 60 equals opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite is x that we need to find over h, which is hypotenuse with 40 centimeters. So to find x, we need to multiply sine 60 with 40 centimeters. So the length of x in centimeters will be 34.6 centimeters if you calculate it. X, this is 34.6 centimeters. After we're done with triangle A, let us go to triangle B. We need to name them accordingly as we named in triangle A. Opposite of the right angle, hypotenuse. Opposite to this will be opposite, and the other one, which is here, is going to be adjacent. As I said in the previous question, surprisingly, all the sides had similar names, but in this you can see that it's not the same. So now let's start solving. We have the adjacent that we found in the first question, which is 34.6. Let me just write this here. 34.6 centimeters. And we need to find y. We don't have hypotenuse, so I'm just making a small x just to indicate. Now, we need to find y, which is opposite and adjacent. The formula that we use is going to be TOA, or tan. So we write the formula first. Tan equals opposite over adjacent. Now we can start substituting with tan theta, which is 50 degrees, equals opposite, which is y that we need to find, over A, adjacent, that is 34.6 that we found in triangle A. 34.6. How do we find y? Y equals 34.6 times tan 50. After you calculate it, y will equal 41.3 centimeters. So the length of y will be 41.3 centimeters. So this is how you calculate the lengths for question 2. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you understood. If you have any questions, put them on the comments below. Thank you.